Hello Africa, welcome to Bite-Sized Democracy, a weekly show focusing on issues around democracy on the African continent. Our show gives you a snapshot of what's happening in Africa in fun, informative bite-sized segments. Please do join us in conversation. Our Twitter handle is @Afrique_democratic, #BSDemocracy. And please do follow us on Facebook, the African Democratic Institute. My guest for today is Mr. Rotimi Olawale from the Youth Hub. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks very much, my pleasure.
Okay, question number one. What is the Youth Hub?
Well, you forgot to add Africa. Youth Hub Africa is a non-profit that programs for young people on the continent, and we do that through a number of things. One is we have an active web platform that provides opportunities for young people on the continent, so opportunities like scholarships, workshops, events that can help them grow and develop themselves personally. We do that. We also track policies that affect young people on the continent in Nigeria where we're based, and also across the continent. We do some work continentally working with the AU around governance and democratic issues.
Okay. And where do you get funding for such? It's such an awesome project, and I understand you have to source funding for yourself. Where do you get funding for this project?
Well, funding is one of the key challenges that we grapple with on a daily basis. So that's quite difficult, but we have a mishmash of funds that we're working with now. We have some fund from some private foundations in Denmark. We recently signed a grant with the Malala Fund to do some work around education advocacy. And yeah, we're always marketing and looking for more resources.
Okay. You're also a development expert. What does that entail?
Well, youth development expert, I've spent the last 13 years working around the youth development space, so I feel I've gained some experience that I can claim to be an expert on the subject matter. Yeah.
Okay, you're also involved in youth advocacy, especially the MDGs, which are now the SDGs. Do you think Africa fully benefited, or did we, as a continent, did we take advantage of the MDGs? Did you see anything materialize from that?
Well, the MDGs was the first time the United Nations was asking member states to come together towards achieving a common set of goals. And that happened in the year 2000. Over 198 heads of states signed on to the goals. But what we discovered that in Africa, they signed the statement, came back home and forgot about it. Nothing was mentioned about the MDGs until 4 or 5 years later. 2004-05, that's when some countries on the continent began to see if the MDGs could be achieved. We didn't make that much progress. Many countries on the continent did not achieve the MDGs, but at least it provided a platform for measurement to ask that how can we reduce poverty in Africa, how can we create jobs, how can we meet the education goals, how can we get more girls into schools. So as long as we put these issues on the table, it allows those of us who work in the civil society space to measure government based on what they are doing to achieve these goals. So I think in some aspects it was good. It's unfortunate that some of the goals were not met, but I think that progress was made generally along some of the areas.
Okay. The African Union is Agenda 2063. Do you think that's closer to home and more achievable?
Well, I think that Africa's problem is not about Agenda 2063 or the Sustainable Development Goals. It's the fact that we sign on to several documents but we never implement, or that we don't put enough enthusiasm into trying to implement what we commonly agree to do. That's where the main problem is. If you look at the SDGs and Agenda 2063, some of the goals in the SDG align with some of the aspirations in the Agenda 2063. But both documents, generally, what are they looking for? They want Africa to develop. And so as far as I'm concerned, if governments say to themselves, what can we achieve over the next 10 years? The SDGs is up until 2030. Agenda 2063 gives more time until 2063, about 46-7 years from now. The important thing is that governments need to start to implement the agreements that they've signed. If they do that, I think all the goals are achievable. We've seen it with several countries across the globe. many African countries were on the same level with Singapore, Korea, in the 60s, but now they are light years ahead of us. Why? Because they have plans, they implemented their plans, we had plans, we did not implement ours.
I think for any plans to move forward, we need to include the youth more than any other demographic. Do you think the African Union is doing enough for the youth in Africa?
Well, I've been working around the African Union since 2007. I think that the space for youth engagement has increased. We're still not at a level where I would say we have institutionalized youth engagement at the African Union level, but I would say it's increased. Still have some challenges here and there, and I still think the African Union has what is called tokenism when it comes to youth engagement. Some people within the union think they're doing you a favor when they buy you a ticket to attend a policy meeting in Addis Ababa. But the important thing is that we need to understand that Africa's population is young. More than 50% of Africa's population is young people, and you need to engage these people in the development of the policies and programs that will affect their lives, that will determine if there's food on their table, that will determine if there will be jobs opening up in their streets. So it's important that young people are part of this conversation and they're engaged in the public policy space. And if they are not engaged, we've seen what happens. Some of this is what has led to the uprisings that we've seen in North Africa and in also several other African countries where the youth feel that they are disconnected from government, and so they go about with this anger towards government. They don't understand what is going on. They're not connected to it. They feel the government is not trying to solve the problems that they face. So it's important to get young people into the conversation. Sometimes the challenges are not challenges that you can solve immediately, but when you get young people into the conversation, they understand more about the nuances, and they themselves can plan to contribute to solving those challenges.
Your organization, Youth Hub, clearly is one of the organizations in Africa that are particularly dealing with the youth. How does one get involved with the Youth Hub? If there's a young person out there who's watching now and they have a fire, that fire for Africa, how do they get involved with the Youth Hub?
Well, our strategy is based on using digital tools to reach out to our audience. So we have a web platform that provides opportunities for young people on a daily basis. Every week we publish about 30 new opportunities on the platform. We have a very active social media page that has about 100,000 followers. We're also active on Instagram, on Twitter. What I would say to people is go on any of these platforms to find opportunities that aligns with your interest. If you want scholarships to further your studies, you would find such there. If you're looking for training opportunities around the creative industry, if you want to attend workshops, if you want to get involved in policy processes at the African Union and the United Nations, you'll find such opportunities on the platform, and that's a good place to start.
Okay, well, just one last question. You spoke about social media and technology. How has that changed the face of democracy in Africa? How would you say social media especially has impacted, especially participation from young people democratically?
I think that what social media has done is to amplify voices and is to allow young people to have a collective discussion. So people have always had this discussion, but they've had them in the silos of their homes and in gathering joints and social gathering. But now you can go use your mobile phone to send out an information, and it resonates with someone who is possibly 500 kilometers away from you, and then people can crowdsource ideas. They can see that we have similar challenges, although I'm based in the southern part of the country, this person is based in the western part of the country. We know that we face the same challenges. And so it's allowed young people to be able to challenge government, to ask questions, and we've seen that governments now are beginning to realize that social media has become a powerful tool for information sharing. In the past, government would issue a press statement, go on the media waves, which in many countries they control all the apparatus of the media, and issue a statement. If people are angry or they disagree with that policy statement, they say it in the comfort of their homes, except they can mobilize to go out on street action. But these days you see young people go on social media to immediately respond to this, and we're increasingly seeing government then coming to explain further, or sometimes to reverse such decisions. We've seen it happen in South Africa, where there was this famous protest over increments in school fees, and you could see that young people use social media tools to mobilize, to organize, and to force government to action.
Thank you so much. As you've heard from Mr. Olawale, Africa, the youth of Africa, we need to mobilize and we need to organize. There's organizations like the Youth Hub Africa that can help you with that. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for watching Africa. Till next week, goodbye.